I'm live.
You are live.
I'm live.
You're live.
I'm live. I'm
Where
very
is
bald.
Annie going live? Someone asked.
My head is so shiny.
Okay, let me get. Hang on. Jay.
I can wait. I used to do radio. That was awkward. Like talking into a microphone, no one in front of you, no one else in the room. Like I did it on pirate radio in Santa Cruz, and we talked about safe sex and safe drug use, and it was so much fun. It was so much fun. Yeah, where's my live chat?
I'm finding you.
I think I got some people in here. Hey, Lynn.
Oh, Lynn? Finn or Lynn?
Lynn
Nia.
is got 3 N's. Lynn.
And I'm putting your live.
Hey, Coco.
Oh, there it is. I found it. Share. Copy.
Well, I mean, right off the bat, I'm going to tell everyone this is the first time I've ever done this. So I don't know how to start or what to say or anything, but I just want to basically start, I guess, by saying thank you very much. I appreciate everyone. I don't know how you'd be able to talk on radio. It really is. It was very difficult. The first couple, I mean, I want to say the first 4 episodes we did, the first 4 shows we did, I was co-hosting with a very beautiful, very large woman named the Glitter King. And we talked on this radio show about safe sex and safe drug use, and it was an absolute blast. And then finally, she had to leave me alone one time. She got sick or whatnot, and I had to run the show alone. And surprisingly, it ended up being one of the most popular episodes. They actually used it. They recorded it and used it on other days when they had to just run, like a blank spot or something like it. It was pirate radio, so they were just trying to fill the air with something. But there was a pretty controversial conversation that happened on there that really got like a really cool conversation. Like the ending of the conversation was ending well, so the whole thing was really cool. Like, and for them to replay it, I just thought it was a little pat on the back, I suppose. So, I mean, like I can just talk if you guys want, or if anybody has any questions, really, like I can tell you right now that I'm incredibly open to tell my story. So if anybody has any kind of questions for me pertaining to my drug use or my alcoholic stage or whatever, it came in stages, I suppose. I really am an open book. If you want to go even further back to my childhood and things like that, like there's 2 things I got to say about how I think about my story and stuff. And one is that I've talked about it till I'm blue in the face. It's almost just out of practice now. So it's like, like there are times, sure, when I get emotional and stuff, but I've had good practice. And then the other one is, hang on, I just want to finish this. I'm getting this. Thank you so much for asking questions.
I'm here to help.
Audrey's here, actually.
Hi.
She's in the background.
I'm in the background. I'm here to help.
The other piece the other piece to play about my sobriety and particularly about, within my addiction and within my drug use and stuff is being able to share it is a way of kind of making it all worth it. If that might sound weird, but it gives it all a purpose, and it allows me to kind of wear it as a badge of honor rather than, something to be ashamed of or something to feel like I have to hide from people, So that's just my thinking on it. So that's why I'm like totally inviting you guys to like, just ask whatever questions you want. If I'm uncomfortable, I'll say that, but I highly doubt it, honestly. Thank God there's little lights right there. I have such a hard time looking at my camera. So, all right, let's check this out. Hey, I just got done watching your new video. Thank you so much. literally everybody, if you're able to watch that video, I'll give you a real quick thing about that. What happened is the age restriction that was put on the original episode 1 basically broke the chain because everybody was going from that video to like binge watching everything else. And once that chain was broken, everything died, like completely died. Like right now, it went from, I want to say like 18. Babe, can you turn on the AC for me?
Yeah.
It's like blowing directly on me. I don't have enough hair to block myself. I'm going to start putting out a blanket. Basically, it just put everything on the channel, and it's been really devastating to watch, particularly because of all the amazing support everybody's been throwing out there, and the healing messages and the concerns for my triggers and all that stuff. It's you have no idea how grateful I am for everything that's been happening with all this. So watching the video and then moving on to episode 2 and just kind of restarting the chain is really the hope for putting out this new extended edition. So I wanted to give you guys more of the reaction because some people were saying like it would have been nice to have some longer videos. And I figured, I would link everything up, and Audrey was a huge help. So was our editor, David. Glianos, what's up? Shout out. And so hopefully everything gets mended and things can kind of just happen to heal. Everything can heal, basically. All right, let's move on to some questions. I see some question marks. I want to say hey to everybody. Everybody's saying hi and stuff. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Huh?
Do you want me to help you with questions?
No, I can catch up. Hey, is the new Euphoria video just the first episode extended? Yes, Emily. Yes, it is. We put in some more reactions from me and some longer parts of the episode, and it was still accepted amongst the YT, no copyright, at least for right now. But again, it was just an attempt to kind of give you guys more and hope that you'd be willing to watch the video again, kind of restart everything. Hey, okay. No, I just read that. What was the turning point for when you got clean? Actually, there was a few turning points. If you want to think about it, I want to say each one really fed into the next one, as a matter of fact, because this most recent time, me getting sober, well, I wouldn't have been able to get sober without the experience of getting sober in the past, and knowing that the rooms, the NA and AA and all sorts of meetings, really, they have like Overeaters Anonymous, they have Cocaine Anonymous, they have like basically a meeting for like very specific things if you feel like you're more comfortable going to that. And I went to all of them, actually, just to try them out. I kind of wanted a 24-hour chip. From each one, I had like a big key ring, like full of them. But the turning point for me was, I suppose this time, I can talk about this time, was I got off work. I was working at 7-Eleven. I had worked at 7-Eleven for about 5 years on and off. And during this period, I was working a different shift that was available at 7-Eleven every week. So I was working like graveyard, swing, morning, and none of them had really a consistent schedule. So I did not sleep well. And I turned to drinking to really kind of help that. And a very small amount turned into a very large amount very quickly in order to get me where I needed to be to go to sleep. And basically what happened was I got off work. It was a graveyard shift that I worked. I was walking home by 6:30 a.m. And at that time, there was 2 liquor stores that are open at that time on my way home. But I already had a bottle like waiting for me at home, like not capped or anything. And so I just rushed home and I started drinking. So it was about 7 o'clock in the morning. And 9:30 roughly rolls around, and I have finished that bottle without really knowing it. And I just, in my mind, was like, oh, I got to go get more. I'm not drunk enough. And in that moment, basically, the way my house was situated, I had to walk through the bathroom, or well, I had the option of walking through the bathroom to get to the living room, and that door was open. So I just kind of naturally gravitated that direction. And as I passed through the bathroom, I saw myself in the mirror, and I kind of did the, double take. I walked forward, took a few steps back, and took a look at myself. And I was just like, hair was maybe this long, beard was real stupid and shaggy, eyes sunken in, real pale. Didn't recognize myself. And basically, for the next like 10 minutes, I had a battle with myself on whether I was going to keep going to the liquor store to go get that bottle, or I had my cell phone in the hand. And I had naturally flipped through my contacts to the one person who was sober in my phone, and it was a guy named Dino. I don't know. I've never actually asked how to pronounce his last name, but it's like DeRoca or something like that. Something like that. But he was this short little gay guy that I met at I can't remember how I met him, honestly, but he was in my phone. He was probably hitting on me or something. He admitted later that he had a crush on me, like after he stopped sponsoring me. So it was like that's part of a story. So I knew that was happening. But he was the only guy on my phone, and for about 10 or 15 minutes, I had a battle on whether I was going to call him or go to the liquor store. And somehow I called him, and he picked me up within 10 or 15 minutes, like post haste. And within 10 or 15 minutes after that, I was in a meeting. And for the next year, him being gay, he went to gay meetings. There's a huge fellowship and a very, very welcoming fellowship actually in San Jose, which I did not know about until this moment. Until that moment, sorry. And he took me to, he became my sponsor. I went to the gay fellowship for about a year. And it was the most amazing, it was probably the most amazing and warm, welcoming time I have ever been in the program, like in the rooms, period. Like even at that moment, I was still drunk when I walked in those doors. So they were just, hey, welcome to the rooms. Let's go get coffee afterwards, and it was amazing. It was amazing. So that was kind of like the story at that point. And at that point, it was about 13 and a half years ago that happened. So Dino saved my life. Dino, usually I cry about that. Actually, I feel like I'm halfway there because it's a very important thing to remember that I was drinking myself. I was trying to leave this planet. I was trying to be done. So Dino saved my life. All right. Let's see. I know. I hope I didn't talk too much. I probably did. Let's see. That makes complete sense. No way. I get that. I have a question for you. Able to quit. How were you able to quit your addictions? Oh, Paige. Hey, Paige. That's honestly a really hard question to answer. It unfortunately for a lot of people who are dealing with addiction, it ends up having to kind of come to a turning point in your life where something just kind of turns a light on in your head. And unfortunately for a lot of people, that turning point happens at a pretty low and pretty dark place, unfortunately. If you're fortunate enough to want to quit before that, my best advice that I can give you is
Oh, I love you, honey. I'll get you tissues.
Sorry. My best advice is to learn to love yourself. I didn't love myself, like, at all. at all. And I didn't like where I was in life. I didn't like the job I had. I didn't like that I was living with an incredible amount of regret. I didn't like anything, and I wanted it to be done. And the only way that I felt like I could do it, because I wasn't willing to make the move, the the big move, but the drinking kind of just made it okay. It made me satisfied for that moment, and it just kind of allowed me to eke on every day. So the moment when I learned that I cared about myself enough to keep living, and living, not living for the drink, but like going through life, the bads and the goods, all of the above, like life. The moment I realized that, it was a spiritual moment. It was a very spiritual moment for me, about 6 months into my sobriety. And it was just at that moment that I realized that I wouldn't be where I was if I was drinking at that moment. I was rock climbing. Someone took me on a rock climbing trip, is what happened. And they took me up in Yosemite. It was the first time I had ever rock climbed, ever, like, period. Like, not even in a gym or nothing. This guy just saw that I could Spider-Man some rock one time. And he's like, we should go rock climbing. So he took me up a mountain, and I got up on top of this mountain. We ended up climbing a lot of mountains. But he got me at the top of this mountain, and there was this box where I was able to sign my name, from people who had climbed that rock for like 50, 60 years before. And I got to sign my name in this book. And I'm looking at this 360 view of the Sierra Nevadas and just this beautiful sunlit sky, no buildings, no nothing. And at that very moment, I realized that I would not be on that mountain if I was drinking. So I was fortunate. I was very fortunate. I think that my drinking career could have taken me a lot further down the rabbit hole, for sure, but it didn't. And it was at that very moment that I realized that not drinking's not that bad. This not drinking things, this is all right. So Paige, I'm sure you have, I mean, even in this chat, you already had a bunch of people caring about how much they appreciate you. So it's going to take some practice, but my best advice is to start learning how to love yourself. That's about the best I can tell you. The next episode's about to start. Okay, so we got episode 6 coming at 1, right? Yeah. So I'm gonna try and answer these as fast as I can. Emily, I've only come across your channel from the episodes. Okay, I gotta skip. I'm gonna read all these later, if that's okay, Emily. I so appreciate it. I just want to get to the questions. As I said before, I'm so grateful that you're sober and able to share your story. Do you ever have times where you want to drink or use? If so, how do you stop yourself? Call someone. I don't really have those tendencies very much anymore. It's usually in very, very rare occurrences. I've been sober for a long time, and I'm humble enough to know that I can still drink and I can go out there at any time. So it's always there. I'm not saying that I'm like cured or anything, but I mean, Audrey keeps whiskey in the house, and like, for parties or whatever, there's booze here, and I just forget that it's there, which is kind of interesting, but I'm glad that she knows she has the freedom that she can have. She doesn't. She drinks like she's like a 1 glass of wine drinker kind of person. So it's always for parties. It just hangs out there. It collects dust. We've got a mini Chivas. It's a Chivas right now over on the thing. But how I stop it is I call somebody, I'll talk to her, try and find my support system as best I can, because whatever is making me want to drink is obviously an emotional thing or a reaction to something. And if you're not able to really find or root that out on your own or in your own mind, then it's better to just put it out there and give it to somebody else and see if either you hear the solution within what you say, or possibly they can give you a insight of some kind. But always try to find someone who's better at listening than talking. I would try and say that. A lot of people tend, not a lot, but a fair amount of people tend to want to try and fix it, and it's not about really getting fixed. It's more about the talking. It's more about just kind of letting the mind wander with it a little bit. How do you deal with triggers? Do you still get triggered? I don't think so, really. I just let my emotions out now, and I'm okay with that. A lot of people call me very passionate because I laugh like fully whenever I laugh. I cry fully whenever I cry. I don't get angry, and that almost annoys me because when I do get angry, like it throws people off very dramatically. Like they just think I'm about to knock down a building or something crazy. But I don't think I get triggered. I just kind of let things out. I'm okay with just when they happen, just let it happen. If I have to leave the room, I'll leave the room. It's this is me, like I've come to terms with that. That's just part of who I am. My mom cried a lot. My mom before she would cry at like Ninja Turtles or something. She would cry. What? Yeah, I think you cried at something like that too. But yeah, like it was, I come from a crier gene, I guess. It's just part of my genealogy, probably. But yeah, triggers, I would say the same thing. If you're talking about being triggered again, you probably want to talk to somebody. You need to be able to breathe and just let that out, talk to somebody. And again, look for somebody who's better at listening than talking. That's I think a huge one, and probably maybe hard to find. It might be harder to find than you think. In your opinion, Sierra Ball, in your opinion, is relapsing a bad thing? Do you think it sets someone back or helps them? Obviously, depending on the situation. Relapsing, that's an interesting question. I don't think that has ever really kind of entered my mind as, I mean, I probably instinctively it's a bad thing, just but maybe not in the way that most people think. The relapsing, think of it almost as a trigger, really. Like it's not that you did the drug, it's that you feel shitty you did the drug. That, like it more than likely, if you relapse, you've got this booming voice in your head saying, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you doing this? Like, and that's what sets off all of the emotional attachments to the addiction that you had. It's like you never left the addiction. Like quite literally, it's even if it's a slow start to something, like, but at the same time, it can absolutely be a growth. It can absolutely be a growth. Like most people, I think old timers you'll find in the program basically say it's like, oh, well, it's just wasn't their time yet. Like they still have more things to do or more things to learn or whatever it may be. But it's almost like a Buddhist kind of thinking. It's like let life be life if that's the choice that they're going to make. But that doesn't mean, as a fellow sobrietan, that I would be insensitive to that. Obviously, I would obviously voice my concerns if I was witnessing that. Yeah. That's just being human, I think. All right, we got 2 minutes.
I don't know, you might want to just stay on this chat.
Yeah, I might. I've already seen episode 6, so just promise me, everybody, go to episode 6 after we're done. I'm gonna stay. This is nice. You guys got so many questions. This is great. I'm now lost, babe.
Oh, okay. Do you want me to help?
Maybe, yes. I'd like to get to these. This is fun. All right, I found it. Okay. How do you or have you been able to kind of forgive yourself for the hurt you may have caused others with your addiction? Shit. That's like, okay, you're talking step 4. That's step 4. Step 4 in the program is when you go over your inventory of shit you've done and basically kind of create a list where that's everything you're going to apologize for. the literally the next step is apology. Or I don't actually, it's been so long. It might be step 9 that you make your amends and stuff like that. But you make the list in step 4, and then one of the other steps. It's God, I hate that I don't remember that. How did I forget that? I want to say it's step 9. But where you make your amends, and you basically you do this with someone you trust, which is your sponsor at that time, and you go back and you make your phone calls and you send your letters and you meet in person with coffee. Step 8. Damn it! Okay, I was close. I would have lost in The Price is Right. I was one over.
To make amends to them, but step 9 is direct amends to people wherever.
Oh, I was right then.
8 and 9.
8 is basically like writing down their phone numbers. It's like, okay, I'm definitely saying sorry to this person. I'm going to call them at the next step, But it's literally at some points it's like piss your pants scary to do. I will say that the act of saying you're sorry for things that you feel that you've carried for so long, that you've literally used or drank to numb away, those are going to be the hard ones to do. But it's almost like making a leap off a cliff. You just got to rip off the Band-Aid, and you just got to accept the consequences of whatever that might be. It's therein lies the growth. Unfortunately, is like, if it's bad, where you now know what you can do with that. If it's good, you now know what you can do with that, and you can move on and you can work towards that. And it might be long, it might be short. I was very surprised at how many times I said I'm sorry, and the other person straight looked at me and says, I have no idea what you're talking about. But I carried that with me for so long, and then I'm just like, shit. I pulled my hair out for this stuff, like, at points. It's like, I remember blacking out thinking of that last or whatever. But yeah, once you do it, if it's bad, even if it's bad, and you go through that turmoil, you cry or you get angry or you get frustrated or whatever it may be, you'll still feel free of that. Maybe it's evolved now to something else or whatever it may be, but you're free of the original guilt, the original regret that you were carrying on to. And that's really the goal. That's from there, you just get rid of the next regret, the next guilt. It's a step-by-step process, so. All right.
Next question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where are you going to say it?
Yeah, if you want.
Yeah.
Lou wants to know, do you have any kind of advice for forgiving people who were addicts? I had horrible some things happen to me from someone who I trusted, I'm in a loop headspace.
Yeah, it's cycling in their head.
Looping, yeah.
I hope you guys can hear that, because I'd like to read these questions out loud for sure. So, honestly, so this is something that I actually just talked about to somebody in a different context. It didn't actually have to do with my drug use or anything. It actually had to do with I don't know. I mean, I may as well. It's bound to come up sooner or later. I guess I'll just say it. Sexual abuse for me. When I was 11, a family member did their thing, and basically, this family member was kind of the head of the family, the eldest, basically, and everything was held at their house. It was all, all the holidays, all the everything, reunions, blah, blah, blah. And when he decided to do what he did to me, I confessed to my mom a couple weeks later. And she immediately got on the phone, dialed 911, and just called the dogs on him. And that particular action basically turned into this person calling off all family things. Like basically, and he didn't say it directly, but he basically made it be known that he didn't want anything to do with me. And he wanted to make sure that everyone else knew that I was the reason why the family is breaking up at that moment. And I was 11 years old. I was 11, turning 12, I think. And to this day, that man's never asked for forgiveness, never apologized, never admitted to anything. He did his time, he did his thing. He never looked me in the eye, and he'll even shun me away from his house. I've even approached him to talk about it and hopefully give him his chance. And to this day, it never happened. But I remember when I forgave him. I remember when I let it go, because I realized that all it was doing was just creating this anger. I was hanging on to this anger that was never going to be fixed the way it was expecting it to. And I had to basically let go of those expectations. And what that turned into was kind of me more feeling sorry for him, really, because now he's just living in his house. His house is his prison. He doesn't really see anybody. He doesn't say hi to anybody. He doesn't call anybody. He's just kind of waiting to die. And that's his guilt. That's his thing, So I can't, I can only control what I can control. I can't control him. And I would think you would kind of want to take the same thing to any other situation or any other person, like the person you're talking about. But the main thing beyond that is I would make sure that you're safe. Like, you need to protect yourself more than anything else. And if you feel like you or other people around you are in danger as a result of this person, then severing things and letting life be life at that point, and just hope for the best. Be there for when they make a turn, but that's about the best that you can do at that point. And show them love whenever you can. Whenever they pop by, whenever they randomly throw you a message, you'd be like, I love you, but I can't. Sorry. So, change that to what you will. Mess with the words a little bit, but yeah, that's about the best I can tell you to do, Lou. It's a tough one. That's a tough one. But take care of yourself. Number one thing is take care of yourself.
Paige says, "You're going to make me cry. I'm so happy that you were able to get clean and able to start loving yourself. I'm for sure going to take your advice. Thank you so much. You're helping me a lot." Emily says, "Is it ever difficult or tiring for you to market yourself as the sober guy?" I love that question.
That's such an awesome question, because no, I did not want to do that at all. I did not.
Like the first thing
whatsoever. The connection to the sobriety was a no-brainer. Audrey brought it up as an idea, and I looked her straight in the face and I go, no, I do not want to be the sober guy. I do not. I literally said that verbatim. I go, no.
Mm-hmm.
And then I looked at her and I basically, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer connection for me, because I'm already this way. This is who I am. Like, what I'm giving you is literally just who I am. This is who I'd be if we were to meet in the street or whatever.
It is.
And so being able to do that with this, something that I have like a lifetime worth of experience with, it's very natural for me. And I knew that if I went this way, it would totally do okay. And I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to do that. Because it's almost like it took me like 3 months for me to finally say that Audrey was my girlfriend.
Yeah.
And all that was, and what that is a fear. Is once a label gets stamped onto something, then there's added pressure to that. There's added pressure to it. And for me, like Audrey and I, we're not married.
We're not actually
married. We just say that because people keep asking us the damn question. It's just like, we get tired of telling the story after a while.
Yeah.
And we're basically married. If you're thinking about California law, like I think it's just
11
domestic.
years.
We're
be
domestic
11
partners.
years in September. So it's like,
But to me, like that, making that step to like actually getting married and stuff, to me, there's a big fear behind that because it just adds just a big amount of pressure. And at least from my experience,
and
I probably haven't had the best role models for relationships.
Me either.
So, but I would say the sober guy, what it's turning into now is something that I would have never expected. And the idea that I'm now doing exactly what I was hoping to do in the first place is help people. That's like literally the root of my core. Is I like the thing that puts a smile on my face to the point where it hurts is literally the idea of helping people. And the fact that I can now use all of my pain and all of that hurt and all of that backstory to do that makes it just 100 times more special to me. So that, I mean,
and I have to say that he was so pure about this when we started talking about it, because he wanted to make sure that he was put up as a drug addict, because our editor wanted to do ex drug addict or other former.
He felt uncomfortable even calling me that. Frankly, he just felt uncomfortable.
And I like what you were saying. You're like, I'm still an addict.
I am a drug addict.
You don't just not be it all of a sudden.
Like that's something that I'm going to carry. And if the moment that I don't carry it is the moment that I start to think that I can go out there and just be fine with it. And frankly, there is a piece of me that says maybe that is an option, but I'm going to wait until I know that I'm not capable of setting fire to my life. Like I'm retired in the old person's home and literally I have nothing else to worry about. Like I'm just like waiting. Like, sure, okay, I'll have a whiskey and sour at that point or whatever. But like I'm 80 years old. What I'm shitting in a diaper right now. Like, yeah, I'm having a whiskey.
I think 95.
Like sure. But for right now, like and even then I'm mostly joking about that. Like but I got to be real about that. And the realism behind it is what helps me talk about it so genuinely and so honestly and openly. It's just I took the deep dive over getting sober a long time ago. And in order to do that, you have to become honest. Honesty is a huge piece of it. And it's not just being honest with other people. It's also being honest to yourself. A huge part of that is being honest to yourself, knowing who you are, knowing the mistakes you make, the character defects, the type of downward slope that you take, the telltale signs of depression. All those things you have to become observant. You have to become, you have to really love yourself and like memorize shit that you didn't really care about before. And I love it. I love it. I love myself now. And I wouldn't have had now without then. And so therefore I love then as well. It's the idea. All right. What else?
Some of them are the same question. So the statement, which I thought is interesting, is that Jay says, a suggestion I have, because they were talking about forgiveness, is to look into radical acceptance. It's a DBT therapy program. I've never heard of that.
DBT?
DBT.
What is DBT?
I don't know.
What's DBT?
Yeah. interesting.
I don't even know where you are in the chat.
I know. I'm having to scroll down. A bunch of people are chatting.
Here, you guys, do me a favor and maybe just repeat your question at the bottom. I want to answer all these.
Lou
Like, this is
says,
amazing.
is it easier to call yourself the sober guy or past addict? See, I feel like we already answered this.
Well, I mean, just to reiterate, I wouldn't call myself a past addict. I would call myself an addict, just straight up. Like, I'm an addict.
It's always there.
The sober guy, if that catches on, I'm going to be so bummed. You have no idea. I'm going to be so bummed.
Well, and it kind of has to, because due to the age restrictions, we had to take down basically anything that has the word drug. Drug addict kind of thing. The next question that comes, I'm not skipping questions. He's
Okay.
looking to see if I'm skipping questions.
No, I'm just trying to see where everything is in the chat.
I can talk for a moment because it says, are y'all excited for your big move to Spain?
Love it.
Do you guys move around a lot?
No. Well, actually, yeah.
We were
Yeah.
in Thailand.
At this point, it feels kind of second nature. But yeah, no, we're very excited about Spain. We've been here in Thailand for like 5 years.
Yeah.
And we love it here, honestly. But the whole point was to travel and see new places and stuff. So Spain, we'll be there in September, and we'll start in Barcelona, and we're going to be very mobile. So we might still jump around. Maybe we'll settle for a month. Maybe we'll settle for the year. Who knows? Like we barely have anything, so it's easy. Like, oh, we gotta pack. Okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
Let's go. Get the weenie.
Get the weenie.
That's about it. It's at this point, it's just part of the game. It's just part of the life. So
basically what happened is we were supposed to start traveling early on, and then we got a visa for 9 months in Thailand. And then after 9 months, we're like, okay, let's do another year. And so we got another visa for a year, and then COVID hit. And so we stayed here 2 more years for COVID. And then one of our dogs got very ill and couldn't travel.
Yeah.
And so we stayed here for what will be another year. And about 6 months ago, or I think it's almost 9 months ago, she passed, sadly. And now we're free to travel because our wiener dog is a little beast. Yeah, that's our Wah. So now we'll start traveling more, but we're trying to get everything through to get the visa to then go to Spain for a year. Because if you're not an American, then you don't know that Americans can only have 3 months in the Schengen area, which is basically Europe. So we had to go through a lot of stuff.
We're still not done. We barely started.
Oh, there's so much like paperwork.
There's so much adulting. There's just all this stupid adulting stuff, and it's like daunting. It's daunting
everything has to be certified and then translated from Thai to English from a certified translator.
I don't know.
It's like crazy.
Don't go over the list. We got a job here.
Good. Okay.
Paige, I want to say, by the way, Paige, you're my hero. By the way, you're rocking. You're doing great. I want to just say I appreciate you, and thank you so much for being in here. You're like the most important person right now. They say that in the program. Anybody with 24 hours, literally, they're the most important person in that room. So, go for it.
T wants to know, what's something you wish you could tell younger you who uses drugs? So if you could go back to a younger you that was using drugs, what would you tell you? Good question, Lou.
Everything's gonna be okay.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
When we came here, actually, the first time we came here on the visit, I think we visited for 5 weeks before we eventually moved here. Audrey talked me into doing a yoga and meditation thing in a park in the Chiang Mai Square. And I went there, and during this meditation moment, he was like guiding us, doing this whole like hippy dippy guiding thing or whatever. And I found myself, like fully 100% into it. And while he was talking and trying to help us, do a mind trip or something, I don't remember what exactly he was really trying to do, honestly. But I was trying to be into it at that moment. I was trying to immerse myself. And basically, I had this very, very vivid vision of me standing in black. And it wasn't like I was in a light source or anything, but you could see me just like how I am, but everything was black around me. It was like I was in the abyss or whatever. And moments later, I see another me in the black, I don't know, 10 meters away from me or something like that, 30 feet. And we walk close to each other. We're looking at each other, and we just stand there and take a glance and stuff. And then we both hug each other fiercely. And I tell this other me that everything's going to be okay. And I started bawling in the damn meditation thing. And, and I just felt like everything that I had gone through finally was over. Like, and that was recent. You're talking 5 years ago, like I made it. I finally somewhere that only people dream of, that I've only ever dreamed of. So that was it. That was kind of it, I think.
Lou says, there's a couple statements I think you should hear. Lou says,
Ow.
growing up in a
Skeeter.
Did you get it?
Nope.
It almost
Now I got it.
Growing up in a toxic household and then becoming an adult and having adult relationships is hard when all you knew was fighting, toxicity, etc. And then Steph says, you guys are an amazing couple. So glad you found each other. So glad I pursued him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was a broken dude, okay? Like, I did not know how to function with anything, really.
I was like, I am hitting on you, okay?
What does that mean? I wasn't good. I wasn't good at knowing things.
Brandy says, but that is because of your past. It's what you dealt with. The fact that you are in a healthy, committed relationship is an, oh my God, a victory of overcoming past trauma. For both of us, really, honestly. We've learned a lot about each other. She's had a very interesting past as well. Very interesting. But definitely she knows nothing. I mean, she's never had to deal with addiction. She's had to deal with OCD, which definitely has tendencies like addictive. But
things,
I do come from a family of addiction with alcohol and drugs.
Yeah.
My mom's whole side of them, they're all either like in it bad or they've been sober for like 30 years or something, So I knew when I was looking for someone that I wanted to date, I was almost 30 and I was like, I know what I want. And I knew because of my past, I needed someone who either didn't do drugs very much like at all, or was sober. And when I found out he was sober for 2 years.
She got picky is what she did. She's like, you know what? I'm going to have my standards and I'm not going to let them go. And I was the same. I was actually the same, which is why I was so oblivious to her coming ons.
So I knew I wanted someone who was sober because coming from a family of addiction, that meant that I would have issues with that. And if I ever chose to have children, my children would possibly have issues with that as well. So I wanted to make sure that whoever I had as a life partner was someone who not only had dealt with it and overcome it, but also understood what I had come from. And because it's a level that not everybody can understand. So when I found out he was sober, I was like, oh, and he's hot and he's single. And I was hitting on him and he had no clue at all.
No.
I was like,
I only knew how to be drunk. I only knew how to be drunk. I was awkward otherwise. It was like, but the thing that made, socializing just so much more fluid. It lubricated that whole thing, trying to, like, being able to talk to people or meet new people or whatever. Like, I didn't know how to function without it. And the first year in the program, they suggest you not dive into relationships. And I met her 2 years after I was sober. So I was still kind of like iffy on the relationship stuff because I was still trying to, like, focus in on making sure that I was safe, because I would be no good to anybody else if I knew, if like, if I didn't feel concrete with my own sobriety and stuff. What do we got? We got any more?
Paige wants.
You guys are all awesome. I'm trying to read these, and you guys are just so awesome. You have
Paige
no
says,
idea.
where do you think you would be at right now if you had continued to do drugs?
I would not be here right now. I'd be dead. I would absolutely be dead. 100%. I would not be here. Yeah. Before I know people may not know this, but a lot of people perish from alcoholism. They and particularly even detoxing off alcohol is not fun, and it's very dangerous. It has humongous effects on the liver, the kidneys, the brain, the blood, the heart, and to detoxify all the damage that you've done to your body is gut wrenching. It's gut wrenching. So I luckily didn't go through any of that. I have no idea why, because I did drink myself to oblivion. So 2 weeks after I had gotten sober, I kind of did an inventory, because I was young, like a younger, and we had roommates and stuff, and I didn't want anybody to know about my drinking, so I stashed all my empties around the room, everywhere I could find that would just be, and it was a real small room, but luckily I had the door to the water heater, so I had just like this extra blank space that I could, like, shove bottles behind the thing.
They're empty bottles.
Yeah, these are empties. These are everything that I had drinking, and I never really wanted to clean them out because I just didn't want to do it. I just knew it would, like, make me feel bad and all this other stuff. But I kept thinking about that last night drinking, about how I was able. I drank a liter of whiskey. So when I got home, and that bottle that I had waiting for me, that was a liter. That was a liter of whiskey. And I drank that in 2.5 hours, in roughly 2.5, 3 hours. And I was about to go get more. I was going to go get another liter of whiskey. And basically what happened is that thought kept entering my mind. It forced me to go clean up all the bottles. And I found a total of 243. It was like 243, 244, 243 bottles of whiskey, empty whiskey bottles. And they were ranging anywhere from little half pints to liter bottles. And realized that I had been drinking a liter a day, roughly, for about 4 or 5 months. Straight, every day. I basically clocked it from when I started the craziness of working the crazy shifts over at 7-Eleven. And once that started, basically, is when I started drinking. It was about a week after that schedule started. And I went from a half pint to a pint to a fifth within 2 weeks. And it was, you could just see it. I could almost stack them next to each other and just see the progression. And then after that, it was bottle. And throwing that away was like one of the most it still haunts my dreams, haunts my ears, because I had to throw them away in 2 or 3 different cycles of the recycling. I filled our bin 3 or 4 times. And it therefore took 2 or 3 weeks for me to actually get rid of all those bottles. And every time they picked it up, I just happened to be in the house, and I would hear them dump it into their truck, and it would just be this clank, 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 clank. I'm just thinking, like, fuck. Those guys know I'm an alcoholic. Like I'm just like, wow, So no, I'd be dead. I would be perished right now. I would be shuffled off this mortal coil if I had continued what I was doing. And if you want to talk about the drug pass, which is actually a further back pass, I would absolutely say the same thing, 100%. Only I would have been younger. That's where I would be.
And I'm happy that you're here.
So am I. It's been nice.
This is a serious question.
Uh-oh.
Ashley wants to know, who is the adultier adult?
Serious question. Audrey by far. Audrey by a mile, for sure. Now
we
you
were
got
talking about addictions, control addiction.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'll just give you some real funny examples. Like basically,
I gotta come over for this.
no, you got a job.
I got it.
Okay, you're on it. Okay.
I have notes, names. I started a note file.
Audrey. So when Audrey and I started dating, I didn't even have a driver's license.
No, yeah.
I've never went out for my driver's license ever because I grew up in the ghetto. I didn't have money. I worked at 7-Eleven. And then after that, when I met her, I was just quitting my job as an environmental activist. We didn't make barely any money. I couldn't afford a car. I'm like, you nuts? Like a bus and that shit. I have a bike, walk my own 2 feet. Like, no, I'm not. And I did have a fear. I got hit by a couple cars when I was younger. So I always had this fear that I would be the person hitting someone else, would never want to put that on someone else. So I just never went for it. And Santa Cruz, luckily, everything's like, 15-minute bike ride away. But then, I started dating her and she's like, babe, you can't keep driving my car without a license.
I gotta put my foot down.
So about a year into our relationship, we finally got me my license. I was 33 years old. So random.
I turned 16.
I'm standing next to a 16-year-old in line, like, oh, I'm getting my permit. And be like, oh, I just finished my permit. It was so awesome. I loved it. But yeah, no, yeah. By miles and miles and miles, absolutely. She got me my first license. She got me my first credit card, passport. Like, yeah, like I was not a good adult. I played a good one on TV, but she came in and whipped me into shape for sure.
Emily May says, do you have any lasting physical symptoms from your previous lifestyle?
That's an interesting question. I don't know. I've never really thought about it. I've got some scars and some a tattoo. But there's probably more mental things that are still there or rear their ugly head here and there. Kind of like when you smelled a smell that you haven't smelled in years, and yet it brings you to a very vivid memory. Like a lot of things can happen that way. Just something that you've never thought about before, or something that you just haven't thought about in a long time. And then something just brings you right back there, and then boom, all of a sudden, maybe it's a trigger, maybe it's something that affects you emotionally, like, maybe kind of steps you into depression or whatever. But honestly, I don't know. There probably is. Maybe some bad knees or something like that. But more than likely it's a mental thing. That's more on the mend, on a constant, probably.
We'll find out when you get older.
Oh yeah, no, that's when it'll deteriorate. We're gonna have some fun.
Ashley wants to know on how to deal with making amends to people that you burnt bridges with and can't reach out to.
That's another that I would say.
Write letters to them, right? Isn't that what they have you do if someone's passed?
No. I mean, I'm assuming, Ashley, I'm assuming what you're talking about is you're the one who burnt the bridge and they've severed ties, and you think that they don't want you to even talk to them? Or maybe elaborate on that question a little bit, Ashley. Put that in. Hopefully you're still here.
I believe with the program, it's if someone has died or passed, like they're not alive anymore, and you've done something, then you write a letter.
Yeah, but she's talking burning bridges. This person's still.
Oh, okay. It's Ashley. She's probably still here. Paige says, all caps, "You're my hero."
Nice.
I was thinking about using again.
Yeah, Paige.
And watching this live and all your videos really have helped me to not use again.
Fuck yeah, Paige. At least for right now. You know, Paige, seriously, it has nothing to do with tomorrow. It has nothing to do with the next day. But it's, you know, I'm very thankful you came in. I'm very thankful. Like, even if you were the only one here, I would be talking to you this whole time. And I have no doubt we'd still last. We've been on an hour. I have no doubt we would have lasted that hour just fine, Paige. Like, thank you for coming here, and thank you for being willing to give yourself at least this hour of moment. And hopefully that's enough to talk you in for the rest of the day. And then tomorrow, you know, try and find something else that helps pep you up for that particular decision as well. You know, watch one of my videos. I mean, shoot, comment on something. I read all the comments. So comment on one of those videos. Tell me how you're doing. I'll make sure to keep in contact with you. I would love to hear from you again. Sober or not, but hopefully sober, obviously, but any occasion.
T says, "You are truly and so inspiring. I have a lot of struggles and I'm only 18, but watching your videos and hearing your perspectives in life really make me believe everything will turn out for the better."
That's amazing, T. T, right?
T.
Right on, T. 18's tough. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's you got to find a pride in it if you're trying to get sober at that age. It's got to be something that you're truly proud of, because not many people are in the circles you probably have had are going to give you that praise. You got to find it on your own, and you're worth it, buddy. That's all I can say. Same as Paige, you're worth it. You know, again, don't beat yourself up if you go back out there or whatever. I always just tell people to be safe. It's more important to be safe than it is, you know, trying to slap all these things on you as responsibilities or whatever. But I advocate for safe drug use, safe sex. If people are really thinking about getting sober and stuff, then I absolutely advocate that. It's a personal choice. If you feel like you need to go there, give it a try. And if you don't like it, you can always go back out. That's exactly what my mom told me. And it stuck. It stuck. It took 3 tries, but it eventually stuck. You know, we all got to make our mistakes. Obviously, I had more to learn.
Jojo would like to know how long before you were honest with me, because she says with her, about your past.
That depends on certain parts. Really. I would say by the time I gave her the biggest piece of mystery that makes me me, I was probably a year in or so. I want to say.
Really?
Yeah. My relationship with Tawny. I want to say
I
want to say that was about a year.
That was probably the biggest.
And that was mostly, that wasn't really because actually, I don't know why I kept that one from you, but I knew you'd act the way I knew you'd react. I knew you'd react the way you react, and I was prepared for it.
Yeah.
But everything else, literally, there was just one thing that I kind of kept from her for a while, and then I eventually came clean, or not came clean, but just, you know, told her.
Yeah.
It's nothing, you know, that bad. Okay, you're not a mosquito, but it took a while. It took a while for sure. I had to mostly it was more important to come clean on my habits and my defects and things like that. So the piece that I'm talking about that I'm not being honest about right now because it's not time for that honesty yet, that was more just a piece of me, and it was something that I felt it was important for her to know. It's nothing I'm ashamed of at all. So
No. I think you kind of answered it, but the question is, what's the thing that made you want to stop using and get better? You kind of told that story earlier on. But.
Yeah, but that was the circumstance. But what actually did it was I was tired.
Being tired for all the wrong reasons?
Yeah, that's a little poem quote I wrote a long time ago. I'm tired for being tired for all the wrong reasons. That's almost literally what it is. It's not what I meant to say, but it fills in the gap. Yeah, it was just kind of like, if you've seen Shawshank Redemption, have you ever seen Shawshank Redemption? I'm sure everybody in this room, well, maybe not the 18-year-old. No offense. Shawshank Redemption has a beautiful line. Tim Robbins says to Morgan Freeman, and he says, "Get busy living or get busy dying." And I couldn't think. To put it as bluntly as I can, that's probably one of the best lines I can come up with to answer that question. Is literally the drug and alcohol. Eventually, I started to just see that was me dying. It was just me dying. I was just waiting. I was just passing the time until something happened. Whatever. Living is being here, is being present, and being willing to take that with the good and the bad. That's living. That's living, and going on adventures and making mistakes and learning from those mistakes, and then all that stuff. That's living, and it took me a long time to realize that. So it was a good movie. If you haven't seen Shawshank Redemption, go see it right now. After you see episode 6. After we're done with this.
There's definitely chatter that happened in here that would be good to read. But one of
I am absolutely going to read this. Absolutely. Don't you worry.
AC says, it's all in caps. I just want to say that this is such a beautiful little community y'all have going here, and I'm proud to be a part of it with all of you. I thought that was true.
Thank you so much. Who was that?
AC.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Right.
Next time Audrey has to yell that if it's in caps.
Oh my God. Right. Okay. Actually, got more descriptive about her question.
Ooh, good.
People who don't want to talk to you because you've hurt them or pushed them away by your actions.
So I was right.
And then she says, probably still here? Of course.
Nice. Yeah. So I was right. So you burned the bridge, and they severed the tie, and they want nothing to do with you anymore. Again, that's another tough one. You could make your attempts to try and contact them, try and find maybe some kind of subtle way. Writing a letter, I think, is a pretty good idea if you have their address, and obviously if they're uncomfortable with trying to talk to you, or if they just don't want anything to do with you, period. However you can contact them, like a letter. If we just use that as an example, if you decide to write a letter, let it be known that you're not trying to attempt to come back into their lives, and just make them comfortable as much as you can, and say your piece. If writing a letter is not an option, I'm pretty sure any sponsor would say to you that you would need to kind of give that to somebody. So usually it would end up being your sponsor, as a matter of fact. But if you have like a nice close friend or a close family member who has always been there for you, you basically would want to probably confide into them, not into them, but in them, what this experience is you're talking about with these friends that are severing your ties. It's just really important to get it out in the air, and for you to say it out loud, and for you to admit this fault. And if these people are not going to give you the forgiveness that you're hoping for, or at least the time of day to ask for that forgiveness, then give it to somebody else, and see if that'll at least help you heal, enough. And if I'm not a God person, but I love a lot of lines from God and stuff. So God, to quote kind of a thing that a God person told me, I guess. I don't know if I'm going to say it verbatim. But God kind of has a plan, and if they're meant to be in your life later on, or if that particular relationship can be mended in some way, shape, or form, then it will in the future. But obviously it's just not right now. So it's more important for you to heal and find some way to confide that in somebody, and give it to somebody.
Steph says, I have been sober from drugs for over 25 years. Yay, Steph!
Fuck yeah. Nice job.
Music has helped me immensely. I use it to help balance my moods. Do either of you use music as therapy?
I listen to stuff that bring emotions out of me all the time. Like, I will listen to songs that make me want to scream, that make me want to cry, that make me want to not angry, but listen to songs that help me, almost like a drug. It just helps me forget what I'm feeling at that moment. Like me and Audrey get frustrated all the time with YouTube stuff, and trying to figure out the new hits and blah blah blah. And sometimes I'll just tell her we got to pause. We'll just put music on, and we'll just for the next 10 minutes try and forget that we were just frustrated. And then 5 minutes later we're frustrated again. But for 5 minutes we're not. Kind of sounds like a drug now that I think about it. It's always very descriptive. But I love listening to songs. I like there are times when I'm driving in the car and I just remember Wawa, and I'll listen to songs that just help me get that cry out. Absolutely. Songs are very, very therapeutic, I would say. Absolutely.
She said either of you.
Oh, for you?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you answer, because I need to go to the bathroom.
Okay. We'll sit down.
Yes.
Hello, everyone. Hi. In case you don't know who I am, by the way, my channel is Songs from a Suitcase. So if you like happy musical stuff, that would be me. But speaking of music and music therapy, so being kind of a control freak or addict, or however you want to say it, I deal with a lot of panic and anxiety and panic attacks. Sometimes they can get so bad that, at least they used to get so bad, that I would wake up in the middle of the night shaking, like kind of convulsing, and then I would vomit all night long for no particular reason. It could be if I was stressed. It could be if I went out to a nightclub and it was too loud, or it could just happen, at least it used to. But one of the ways that I learned how to control it is I started creating positive association. So we were talking about like smells. When you smell something and it triggers like remembering your past and some yucky stuff, you can do the same thing that makes you remember good things. So whenever I do yoga or whenever I meditate, which is the times that I'm the calmest, I always end with a certain set of songs. And I end that with my meditation. And so what it does is it makes me positively associate those songs with being at peace and feeling good and calming down. And I also do the same thing with the bracelet. I wear a certain bracelet
And so I hold that bracelet when I meditate or at the end of my yoga, positive association. And Danny knows the last time I had a really big panic attack was right before I was going into surgery, and I was at the hospital and they gave me a really intense enema, TMI. And it just triggered everything, and I started to black out, and my hands seized up and I started shaking, and he knew exactly what to do. He ran into the bathroom and he brought up my track and was like, played the track, and then started counting my breathing, and it got everything to come back down. So I use certain songs for positive association, and kind of turbocharge them every time I do yoga, every time I meditate. So that way, when there's times that I need them, I can play that track and I immediately feel my body start to come back and be okay. So, and he knows what to do. All right, back to you, honey.
Yeah. We all got steps. If you pay attention to yourself, you can find out how to combat those things. It just takes practice.
David is here. He says, "Hey, I'm
Yeah.
here. I just woke up, guys."
Señor Glianos already.
David, I sent you a note. I'll go to work. Okay. Jay says, in case you missed it, DBT
Yes.
stands for dialectical. I think there's supposed to be an I there. Dialectical. That was a mosquito. Dialectical behavioral therapy. Dialectical behavioral therapy. Sorry. It was made for borderline personality disorder and other trauma-based disorders.
Okay. I don't know much about that, but I mean, that's some hardcore stuff. Obviously, the trauma-based stuff.
Right.
Usually, if they've got some kind of DBT, if there's an acronym for it, it's serious. Basically. But yeah, no, that's probably a good suggestion. Maybe look into it. I don't know much about stuff like that. I was fortunate to avoid going that far.
Right. Carolina says, "Hi.
Hi.
I just wanted to chime in and say that I struggle with a bit different form of addiction, eating disorder.
Okay.
And I have been recovering for a few years now, and I must say that you have helped me."
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
That's so awesome. That's really awesome. No, I mean, that's kind of it's like a different compliment, really, because it's, most people, I've run into so many people that just don't seem to try to associate themselves with different forms of like the AA or NA, like within those rooms, it's like, oh, I'm AA or I'm NA. It's, never talk about the other in the group setting. But the OA, the Overeaters Anonymous, was one of my favorite meetings. Honestly, it was literally looking at everything in a completely different perspective. I walked in and these guys knew that I didn't really belong there, obviously. But it was still just such a cool meeting format, and they were just so warm and welcoming again. I felt like I made them uncomfortable, so I just didn't keep going. But the addiction process, however it's directed, is usually very similar. I don't think you can really kind of separate that. It's, if you're using it to avoid emotion or avoid life or avoid, just it's kind of all the same stuff. You're just kind of mad libbing it. It's like left a blank space and you just put food there, or drugs, or like feet. I don't know. you just fill in the blank, and that's your addiction. It's kind of the way. That's at least the way I look at it. There's obviously varying degrees of what that addiction means. There could be people that are addicts, but they're just like me. It's not a big deal. And then there's obviously hardcore addicts and worse. So that's awesome to hear, though. That's a huge compliment. You have no idea. Thank you very much. Carolina, that is awesome.
Carol.
Thank you, Carolina.
Simon says, what do you think of David Goggins?
Who's David Goggins?
I don't know, and I Google searched it, and it's some American runner, ultramarathon guy. I have no idea. It
I don't
could have
know.
just been a random person who popped in. If there's more details, they should tell it, because I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know anything about David
And
Goggins.
no one said anything. So.
Goggins?
Goggins, I don't know.
Okay.
Paige says, if you don't mind me asking, but how many people have you lost due to drug abuse?
Oh, that's.
You don't have to answer if you don't want to.
Dozens. And it's still counting if you really think about it.
Yeah, and do you count overdose only, or do you
No.
also count future issues because?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, in that regard, I don't necessarily count my mom, but I definitely count my dad. And, God, friends, dozens of friends, a few family members.
Got it!
That was a skeeter. She slapped the skeeter. But yeah, no, I have dozens at the very least. I want to say that, like, and again, that number is still counting. There's people still out there. There's friends of mine, people that I know, and I remember shortly after the first time I got sober, I actually volunteered at a place called the Needle Exchange. It was a place that was providing clean needles and sex worker kits, like lubrication, condoms, and just things to try and keep people safe. And during that needle exchange, I don't know how many times I would see old friends from high school and stuff walk in that line, and I would have to say hi. I was like, "Hey, how's it going?" And the whole like literally every piece of my being at that moment was trying my best to make them feel comfortable, because they won't come back. They won't come back if they didn't, So, but yeah, that number's still counting. It's a hard number to have, really.
Jojo says, sorry, Audrey. I did not know your name when I asked my question earlier, which I think is hilarious because I told Jojo that I'm terrible with names, so it's totally fine.
I'm worse too. It's bad.
Another question I have is, losing your past friends motivate you to get clean, or did it make you want to use more?
Both. Absolutely both. And it also kind of depends on when it happens, really. Like if you're in the midst of your drinking or using, more than likely you're going to find a reason to use more or drink more when that happens. But if you're sober, at that point, it's you either stay sober or you relapse, so it kind of depends. It kind of depends on where you are in your life. But definitely both.
Oh, I guess this one's for me.
Yep.
Okay. Knowing your past with family members, did getting involved with Danny make you hesitant at all? Also, as a partner to an addict, what advice would you give to a spouse of an addict?
Who's that?
Jojo again.
Jojo. That Jojo sounds familiar.
Jojo wants to. Okay, so what was the question? Knowing your past family members.
So knowing that you've had family that have been in the program or are practicing addicts, did you have any hesitation?
Oh.
I think that's a no. More
No.
Than likely. I'm gonna probably bet
no. Because I knew kind of the rules being raised in it, and I was truthfully kind of looking for someone who's sober, who's legitly sober, and I knew the rules. I knew he had been sober for over 2 years, so I knew it was safe. I knew he was solid, and it was something. Addiction and chaos was very big in my past, and I really wanted someone that could understand my issues that I deal with on a daily basis and throughout my life because of my past. And for me, this is only for me personally, I felt that if I dated someone who didn't come from something kind of similar, that it would be hard for them to understand me and understand what I go through. And so I really wanted someone who had gone through some of the struggles that I had and had got through it. And so when I found out he was sober, for me, that was a check mark off of my list of what I wanted from a guy. I wanted him sexy. I wanted him, I liked a deep voice. And I wanted him sober. That was one of the things on it. And so
Like 99% sober.
yeah, 99%.
Like she if I was drinking just a glass of wine a week with her, like I'm pretty sure
That's
she'd be
fine.
okay with
Yeah. But anyone, I mean, it was like an
it.
anything.
Sober works too.
Yeah. I mean, I was pretty specific in my list. Like, I wasn't even okay with someone like, hey, we're going to party each weekend and get smashed. If you're getting smashed every weekend, then it's too much for me. So I was totally fine with that. And I come from a wild family. So knowing about his family and his past was kind of what I wanted. It fit. It made check, like, yeah. Yeah. Was that the full question? I felt like there was a two-parter. I think that was it, though.
No, I think you answered.
As a partner to an addict, what advice would you give to a spouse of an addict?
My biggest advice to someone whose spouse is an addict and they are not clean, they're not sober, and they're still having issues with that, my biggest advice to you as their partner is for me, is to go to meetings, go to Al-Anon meetings. They have Al-Anon meetings. It's for family and relationships of people who are addicts. And it helps you understand why you do what you do and why they do what they do and how you can help them and not harm them. Because there's a lot of times where if I were with someone who was actively doing drugs or things like that, I could be doing things that I think is helping them and it's actually harming them. So I suggest Al-Anon, and you can find them all over the world.
Yeah.
All over the world. When
Even
he did
if-
his
and-
yoga thing, there was meetings in Thailand.
And even if you can't, you can always there's like hotlines and
Yeah.
Facebook groups and Twitter feeds and all sorts of things.
Yeah.
So it's
There's a lot of
there's a lot of support out
But
there.
Al-Anon
There's a
is
lot of
great.
support out there for both addicts as well as loved ones and family members of addicts, for sure.
Yeah.
Al-Anon's a great resource.
Okay. T says, any tips on how to stop using alcohol as the only solution for my problems and how to find other ways to cope with them? That's a big
That's a loaded question, T.
And you're not, I mean, we're saying our own experiences,
Yeah.
Gotta watch what we say.
Yeah. So wait, ask the question one more time.
Any tips
Sorry.
on how to stop using alcohol as the only solution for my problems and how to find other ways to cope with them?
Well, the thing about working on your problems is finding the problem with your question, T, is you're literally asking for another drug. And I'm trying to be I'm going to try and be as sensitive as I can about this, because I think I've asked myself the exact same question. I think I've honestly asked myself the exact same question while I was drinking and stuff. But the way you ask that question is basically, how do I find something else to help me cope? And the way those words work into it, it almost literally sounds like you're just asking for another form of booze or something. The only way you're going to get rid of your problems is to work on your problems. You need to be willing to kind of face them head on, and not use something else to filter it, or numb you from it. Coping with it, I mean, it's a dangerous word, cope. Like particularly when it comes to this kind of situation. Coping for an addict, for me, it meant that I was numbing it out. It literally meant that I was using something to not think about that, or not deal with that, or not have to feel that guilt or regret. And the only thing that worked to get rid of it was to work on the problem. It was literally it. There was nothing else. Everything else just ended up being a different form of drug. And I'm talking not even like actually, substances. I'm talking like even actions, like going to the gym and working out, or going on jogs, or a bike run, or maybe you take up singing or something. I don't know. But you're literally just working to avoid the problem, and being willing to face the problem is part of the growth. And it sucks. It sucks a lot, but I mean, it's just like jumping out of a plane. You feel an immediate rush on things, and you're excited, and you feel like your heart's about to race out of your chest, and all this other stuff. And then finally you just kind of feel like you're floating. And it's because, I mean, it's quite literally because a weight is being lifted off of you at that point. And then those coping mechanisms don't seem as necessary. It's kind of interesting at that point, actually. It as long as you're open to thinking that way, like you kind of realize that, oh, I've already dealt with this shit, It's kind of, I hope that answers your question, T. Thank you.
Jay wanted to give more detail. The DBT program that they were in was 5 weeks, 5 days a week, 20 hours a week. It's usually done with a 6-month program, but the program they were in was for people who really needed it really bad, and it likely saved their life. Interesting.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, those kinds of programs and stuff. Not a lot of people have the ability to do those kinds of programs, but if they do, like, certain programs definitely, like, I definitely don't back. But from what it sounds like, this sounds good. You get a Danny approval.
Joe says, Danny, I have posted a fair amount in your videos of Euphoria. My username is JOM678.
Is she? Sorry, I don't know if it was a she or he.
I don't know.
Were you the one asking? Were you the one that I suggested Al-Anon to? We had a nice long conversation, I think, on YouTube or whatnot.
I'm Amy's wife. That's the name. Took me a moment, but I'm Amy's wife.
Hey, Amy's wife.
I'm only young, but I tend to use drugs if I can get a hold of them, and I crave them a lot as it reduces my anxiety in the short term. I feel like as I get older, I can get quite easily addicted.
Yeah.
That was their statement.
Yep. Yeah. It'll be good to, I mean, with the anxiety, kind of what Audrey even mentioned, like, I know how to anticipate her needs, but learning how to, what's the word that they use? Learning how to anticipate the symptoms of anxiety is probably the best advice I can give to most people that suffer from anxiety. Like, if you're able to read the signs that an oncoming attack is happening, it kind of depends on the severity of anxiety, obviously. But if those signs happen with a fair amount of time in between the moment you notice them and the moment you think an actual anxiety attack is happening, like, as long as you can read those signs early enough, you can jump on the bandwagon and listen to a particular song that helps you calm focus in on your breathing, separate yourself from the moment. And like most of the time, I think a lot of people with anxiety feel as if they're broken in some way, shape, or form, and they're not. You're not broken. You're just different, and difference no problem. There's a lot of different people out there, and particularly anxiety. I think it actually helps you almost feel like you're more alone in that moment. And again, you're wrong. You're absolutely wrong. I would almost try and tell somebody who's suffering from anxiety is learn to be confident about your anxiety. It's like be proud of your anxiety. It gives you a chance. People with anxiety are a lot stronger than they really give themselves credit for, if you ask me. The ability to like handle that kind of pressure, the things that go on in your head, the tremors and the passing outs, and learning to live with all that stuff. I mean, how that's strength. That's strength right there, if you ask me. And that's a lot of what I was telling Audrey about that. And a lot of things that we had to work on when it came to her own anxieties is she felt cut off from me. She felt like she could not be this person, or she could not be this intense in front of me. And I had to work with her to let her know that I love you and it's fine. It's like we're not going to be able to. This will just be as bad as it is if we don't work on it. And so a lot of what I was doing is kind of learning her habits, learning her signs of what might be leading up to things, and how to combat it at different stages. What kind of support she needs if it's still in the short term, what kind of support she needs if it's severe. And then a lot of what I did is also help her notice those signs and practice those practices in order to combat her own anxiety, so that I wouldn't have to be there every time. and it's been constant for both of us, and I'm sure she does similar things with me. I may not suffer from anxiety or panic attacks, but I know I have my quirks. I have my moments where I'm frustrated, and there are moments where I'm dealing with my own. I think I have had some like light forms of anxiety, but
and your addiction can step in sometimes.
Oh yeah,
too much Red Bull, or the went to like alcohol.
I do have a caffeine problem. I do have a severe caffeine
There
problem.
was a scratcher's problem for a bit there too.
Yeah, I gambled. That was what I don't know.
It wasn't big,
But
it does come up in little forms.
Absolutely, it comes in so many different ways, and so many different kinds of situations, and it can be practiced in many different forms.
Yeah,
Absolutely, it doesn't don't just think drugs and alcohol are the only addiction out there.
All right, so I think we're about there.
Yeah.
People are chatting, so definitely read some of the things that are on there. But it's been 90 minutes, so
Yeah, we've been on for a long time. You guys are dope.
Yeah.
This is way better than I expected it would
I
be.
gotta go to bed.
Yeah, Audrey's gotta go to bed.
It's past 2 a.m. They
Okay.
have no idea what time it is there.
Yeah, it's currently 2:12 in the morning here in Thailand. So,
Let's tell everyone about episode 1 to 2.
yes, I had to lie about being an alcoholic.
Yeah, there's some stuff in there for sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna, if it's okay, I'm definitely gonna read all this, if that's okay, you guys. And subscribe to me, comment. I want to hear all of this. I don't know if I see something that I would want to maybe contact you guys about. I think the only way I would be able to find you is if you're subscribed to my channel. So subscribe there, and maybe shoot a comment or something, and
And it might be good, now that I'm thinking about it, it might be good to put some resources in your videos for like
yeah, I can do that.
Al-Anon and alcoholics meetings, and where they can find resources to different meetings. and
Definitely.
things like that.
Definitely. You got Google right now. All you got to do is click AANA and then put in your local area.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you're anywhere inside the USA, like there's meetings everywhere. You go to any big city, any huge city, and there's meetings. Also, I mean, Santa Cruz is a small town, really. It's a small city.
Yeah.
And we had a meeting, like I think at one point, yeah, I want to say there was a meeting every 3 hours every day of the week in Santa Cruz.
Yeah.
And there was multiple
There
in
were.
like during certain days you'd find like 12 happening in one day in different areas and stuff. And it's a small town, Santa Cruz, California. So but yeah, you guys, it is a little late. I do apologize, but I really would like to. I almost feel like I'm going to stay up and just read all this stuff. You guys are making me feel very, very special right now, and I really appreciate it. It's been amazing, kind of that we've even gone this long. I thought this was only going to last like 30 minutes.
He was really nervous about it today.
I was.
I'm going to do a slight plug. If you all could show your support by going to his episode 1, watching it, and then immediately going to his episode 2. Simply because the original first episode had to be taken down due to age restrictions, and we want YouTube to start understanding that the new episode 1 should then be suggested the old episode 2.
Yeah.
So there will now be tags on it and everything. So if you can just go to his new episode 1, you'll see on this description and in the pinned comment the link to episode 2. If you could go from 1 to 2 would be amazing. Leaving a comment, even more bonus. Sharing, even more amazing. But truthfully, just getting that link for YouTube to understand, so that way his channel can start getting back out there again to people, because YouTube is kind of hidden his channel a bit, and so we want to get out there and so people can hear.
Yeah, I mean, the basic idea is they took a huge link from the chain, and now everything just kind of spiraled down and flatlined. And now what we're trying to do with this first episode relaunch is fix the link and make it so, like, hopefully it's something that, gains the kind of traction that we had before. But if anything, I'm just hoping to kind of, put a Band-Aid on it and let it heal. And then if you guys are willing to kind of go through the rotation, and maybe if you're willing, maybe even binge, if you can, just binge all the episodes, because literally showing the algorithm that episode 1 connects to episode 2, connects to episode 3, and so on and so forth. All of that is a huge thing that helps the channel, and hopefully we can get that ball rolling again. Otherwise, it may take a long time to get back on that traction, which was absolutely awesome. And considering all you guys like are like, chatting it up and talking and chiming in with your own experiences and stuff, it's really, really cool. So yeah, no, I will be able to see this chat, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank God. I'm like, no, I can't. I gotta read all this.
Wait, well, let me double check.
Someone says hi, Weenie.
Let me double check before you go anywhere.
Yeah, okay. So you got me for a little bit longer. All of you here. Stars Florence. Yes, you guys, seriously. So thank you so much. All the help that you can do to watch and maybe share or whatever, go crazy. Just like for 5 minutes, just be fan people for a second, if you don't mind. I swear I'll do it back at some point. But this was just an idea I had. I figured it would be really cool to relaunch the first episode and give it a chance to, maybe even go longer and see if people would be wanting to watch it that have already watched it, but also still be good for the new folks. And then hopefully it just kind of sets everything else in motion. I hope also you guys go back and watch episode 6 as well. We just released that while we've been talking. So how's it looking?
I mean, it looks like it should be.
I'm sure
but
it is.
Can't quite let me into the back office of it.
Because I'm still on.
Because you're still on.
Okay. Well, no worries. We'll figure it out. At least bare minimum, all you guys, if you can, stay in contact, subscribe. I want to hear from you. Okay. Like, I totally love hearing all these questions and feeling like, I'm useful in some way, shape, or form. But it's this kind of stuff right now, I feel, is like just as good for my own sobriety as it would be for potentially yours or a friend of yours or whatever you guys are here forth, at that point. So, hi, when's episode 7 comes out on Patreon? It'll come out this week. I gotta actually watch that. But yeah, we're coming out. So this is episode 6. Episode 7 for YouTube will be Sunday. So episode 7 for Patreon will come out like Wednesday or Thursday, something like that.
Oh yeah, and the Discord too. 'Cause
Discord?
You have a Discord.
Oh yeah.
and
We
Jay
yeah.
handles it.
We also have a Discord for the group. I don't know the link for that.
Patreon.
For
Once-
Patreon.
once
Oh yeah,
it's-
for Patreon.
Once
Sorry.
they sign up on Patreon, they are given immediate access to the Discord group.
Okay. And I wouldn't mind if you guys like this. I wouldn't mind making this maybe a regular thing. I can maybe try and schedule this out, say, another 2 weeks or 3 weeks from now, and we can give it another go. Maybe after the season finale, episode 8, we can plan something. Because I guarantee, I don't even know anything about that episode, but I guarantee it's going to be a doozy. I can pretty much guess that. So if you guys are down, if you want me to do this live thing, I would love to do it again. This was a lot of fun. Obviously, we've been on for almost 2 hours now. This is actually really, really cool.
Yeah.
Might have to podcast this shit. Am I going to be a vlogger now? God, I'm doing all this stuff. I don't even want to do it. Sober guy. I don't want to be that guy. All right, you guys. Are we good?
Yeah.
Okay. I want to thank you. I really, really do want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much for being on here and asking all these questions. I'm going to have such a good time reading all of this stuff. You guys are amazing. And that's how Danny does it. Someone said it. That's how Danny does it. It was Ashley. Okay, we got an old school. We got an OG. We got an OG in the house.
I told you that's when you're like,
That's
is
how
Ashley still
Danny
there? She's like, of course I'm still here. That's how Danny does it.
That's so rad. Okay, you guys are super awesome. You have no idea. Thank you so much. We're gonna try and get some sleep.
Yes.
And hopefully with your help, everything will get rolling on the channel again. Look forward to episode 7 next week, and then episode 8 the following week. We do have the extra episodes planned, and maybe this live thing can happen again, which I think would be totally a lot of fun.
She's even tired.
So, how's it going, baby?
She's a kisser.
Yeah. I always kiss my weenie. Sorry. Not sorry. I'm not sorry. I kiss my weenie all the time. Kiss me, you fool.
She's shy now.
She's tired.
She's over
All right,
it.
you guys.
She's so over it.
You guys are awesome. Thank you so much.
Good night, you guys. Or
Sleep
good day,
well,
you
or
guys.
whatever time of the day it is
Mhm.
in your neck of the woods and stuff. You guys are amazing. Really. Okay. We'll see each other again, I promise.
Bye. That's how Danny does it.